So, let's start with a question. How do you build a new you? Is it an act of pure will? A conscious, deliberate choice to, well, manufacture a new identity from the ground up? Or do you throw all that out? Is it a purely physical game? A data-driven mission to optimize your body, where really the only goal is just don't die? And what happens when your grand plan for yourself slams right into the cold, hard rules of the world, reminding you that most of us, well, we're not the exception? Okay, so how are we supposed to make sense of all this? Today, we're going to try and decode the modern blueprint for self-creation. We're diving into all the conflicting, sometimes confusing, but always fascinating advice on how to design the life and the person you really want to be. It all seems to start with a decision. And I'm not talking about a wish or a hope, but a real conscious choice. You know, creators like Margarita Nazarenko argue that the very first step is to decide with absolute crystal clarity on the person you're going to become. And listen to that language for a second. It's not discover yourself, it's manufacture yourself. This completely reframes identity as an active construction, kind of like building a house. The big idea here is that you're not searching for some lost part of you. You are the architect and the builder. That gives you all the power to design yourself from the ground up. Nazarenko uses this super simple Elizabeth analogy to make it all real. Just look at the two columns. Old Elizabeth likes cakes. New Elizabeth, she does not. And it's not a struggle, it's not a diet, it's just a fundamental shift in who she is. For new Elizabeth, a cake is like dog food. It's just not for her. She doesn't just stumble through life anymore, she has firm boundaries, because that is who she is now. Simple as that. Okay, so let's say you've done it. You've manufactured this new you on the inside. But how does this new person do out in the real world, especially when it comes to something as messy as relationships? This brings us to a totally different idea, that it's not just about who you decide to be, but about the hard rules you might have to play by. And here is the brutal, simple logic from He's Just Not That Into You. The movie's whole argument is that the world of attraction doesn't care about your manifesting. It operates on a set of clear, unwritten rules. There are no mixed signals. There are only signals you really don't want to hear. And these right here, these are the scripts that prove the rule. The soft pass. According to this philosophy, these lines aren't some complicated code you need to decipher. They're just the polite, standard ways of saying no. The rule is dead simple. If they wanted to, they would. End of story. So we've got these two big opposing forces, right? Manufacturing your own reality from the inside out versus following the world's rigid rules. This leads us to the two dominant methods people are using to get what they want. You either manifest the dream or you hack the system. So on one side, you have the manifestation playbook. It's perfectly summed up by creator Amber Scholl's 4 W's for a vision board, which is, basically a collage of everything you want. It's all about defining your desires with intense clarity. The who, the what, the where, and maybe most importantly, the why. But here's the thing, this isn't just wishful thinking. The belief has to be backed up by relentless action. As another creator, Sudbury, put it, after manifesting her dream life, she took action even when she was terrified, exhausted, and wasn't seeing any results for months. The key, she says, was that she never ever quit. And then you have the complete opposite end of the spectrum, the hacking approach. This is totally personified by the tech entrepreneur Brian Johnson, who's all in on biohacking, using data and science to optimize his body. And this number, $800 million, it represents a radically different philosophy. This isn't about belief, it's about data, a whole lot of money, and engineering a biological outcome with insane discipline. So let's just put them side by side. Manifesting uses tools like belief and vision boards to attract a reality. Hacking uses data and algorithms to engineer one. It's kind of funny, while someone like Scholl wants to hack the system to get her dreams, Johnson sees his own body as the system to be hacked and optimized. Two totally different worlds. But look, whichever path you take, the modern blueprint seems to demand one final step: packaging the result. In our super online world, self-creation isn't just a private project anymore. It's about building a public brand. And the idea is, if you curate your image perfectly, you can, as some creators say, get paid to exist. Creator Haley Gamba actually lays out a pretty clear strategy for this. It's about radiating an energy that just makes people curious about you. But look at that last point. You don't wait until you're an expert to get paid. You get paid while you become one. You're basically monetizing the journey of self-creation in real time. But There is a pretty serious cautionary tale here. Holly Madison, looking back at her Playboy image, talks about feeling so branded that she was just consumed by it. And that raises a really important question, right? What's the psychological cost? If your entire identity is a perfectly curated performance, what happens to the actual person standing behind the curtain? Which leads us to the ultimate question. After all the manufacturing, the rule following, the manifesting, the hacking, the branding, what's the prize? What does winning even look like in this game? Because if you don't actually define the end goal, this whole project of self-creation can just become an endless, exhausting loop. You have to ask yourself, what is the happy ending you're actually working so hard for? You know, that same movie, He's Just Not That Into You, actually gives us two different versions of the prize. You have the traditional ending, finding the wonderful guy, which is an external prize, right? Something you get. And then there's the more modern ending. The happy ending is just moving on. It's an internal resolution where you become your own happy ending. But what does the data say? Well, interestingly enough, Brian Johnson, the guy obsessed with individual optimization, also talks about a loneliness pandemic. Look at this chart. His own data shows that while exercise is obviously critical, having strong friendships provides a similarly powerful reduction in the risk of dying from any cause. So the big takeaway here is that after all this intense focus on optimizing the self, science suggests our connection to other people might be one of the most important prizes of all, which really just leaves us with one final thought. In this relentless quest to manufacture, hack, and brand the perfect life, it's worth asking, what kind of person are you actually building? Are they someone designed for isolation or for connection? In the end, who are you really